The fabrics listed on this pattern are double georgette, lightweight crepe, charmeuse, and challis. But I want to use denim. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kyla, and I do anything and everything related to sewing on this channel. I've got this pattern, an oldie but goodie, that I found in my stash, and it's intended for rayon, silk, challis, charmeuse, lightweight, breezy fabrics. I really think that it's going to be cute in denim. I've got this dark denim, deep blue, indigo, and it's not really a lightweight denim, but the skirt is cut on the bias. So I do think that that will help to give it some shape and some give to it, to give it a slight mermaid effect. That's the goal for today. Let's get started. So I've got a 7-inch brass jean zipper, and I like this color here for contrast. And this thread it's heavy duty and can be used for denim. It's a little bit lighter than that typical cognac honey brown, I want to call it, but I like this color against the deep dark for contrast. And here's you see what I'm making. So I've got my two pieces laid out, and even though I'm cutting them on the fold, I'm only cutting one of the godet. I just need the front and back of the skirt, so that's why it's on the fold. And any adjustments that you need to make to the waistline or to the hip area, do that before you actually cut out the skirt. It'll just be easier if you need to add more here or if you need to decrease it, because this pattern goes up to a size 10, and I'll probably grade it out differently because those aren't exactly my measurements. But you can see that I've got the pieces on the corresponding grain line. So this is the straight of the grain, but when it's turned to the side at an angle, it's going to give me that bias stretch, because this denim is non-stretch whatsoever. I went ahead and finished off all of the raw edges of both sides of the skirt and also the godet. That way, when I make my double stitching on top, this is already done and I don't have to go back and finish that later. And I also made my marking here for where my zipper placement will be. And here's a version of the same skirt that I made last year out of a red satin. So I folded a scant 1/4 of an inch on one side of the zipper placement area and then a 1/2 inch on the other. That way, when I place my zipper tape and stitch it in place, the side that has the 1/2 inch, the bigger side, will overlap onto the scant 1/4 of an inch side so that you won't see it at all. I've got the front and back stitched right at the base of where the zipper placement will be. And then my godet is also in place. And I've pressed both of the seam allowances open. Now I can stitch the placement of the zipper. I'll start on the scant 1/4 of an inch side and stitch that in place. And then I'll pin it to the other side and stitch that part as well. Okay, I want to show you where I have the one side stitched down, and I just stayed with the same deep blue as the fabric because you're not going to be able to see it once I overlap the other piece. And you just slightly place it just to cover that stitch on the opposite side. So I'm going to make a stitch in my contrasting thread all the way down, and then just turn the corner when I get to the edge of the zipper where it stops. And you'll notice that I placed my pins towards me so that when I'm feeding the fabric through the machine, I can pull the pins out as I'm going along instead of if they were in the opposite direction, which would just be more cumbersome. I guess it really didn't matter what color zipper I use for this because you're not going to see it anyway. But this is what I had in my stash, so this is what I'm making work. I want to use this extra wide twin needle by Schmetz that I found because I want that typical side stitching that you see on the sides of jeans and denim skirts. And so I tried it on my brother machine first, and I'm not sure if it's not compatible, but the bobbin tension threads kept getting caught up and snapping and breaking. So I switched from that machine over to my manual heavy duty Singer, put in my extra spool pin so that I could have the second spool of thread, thread that through as normal down the same shaft, same directions. I love how they have these numbered. You see there's 3, 4, then you go back up to 5, and then make your way down to 6, and then here's your 2 needles here. So with my bobbin thread already up in place, I threaded both of the top threads through, and this is the result that I got using it on this machine. This is what I want. Straight, narrow, and it's not puckering in the middle. And let me show you what the back side looks like. You have this nice zigzag, almost a zipper effect coming down, where you can see both threads, and I used 2 different colors just for this demonstration, how you can see that both threads pick up the bobbin thread and none of them broke. Whereas this attempt here, this is what happened on the brother machine, my first attempt. So I only got 3 stitches and then it snapped. So now that I know that Schmetz is more equipped, or I guess compatible with Singer, I'm going to finish out the rest of the skirt using this machine because this looks really nice and crisp, and that's the look that I want. I also want to point out one other thing. The extra wide twin needle is size 6,0-100. So with that first leading number, number 6, you want to make sure that the length of the bobbin thread is half of that. So I have it set at 3. That way the tension is just right and it won't pull and pucker and potentially break. Okay. Ooh. Okay, here's my stitching, and I'm loving that contrast of, this is more of a honey mustard shade than that typical cognac brown that's used against denim. So here's the outside of the godet. I've got both sides done, and then to give you an idea, here's the back side. Nice railroad stitches that look like a zipper. All right, now I can move on to closing up the other side, and then I'm going to make the same top stitch on the other side as well. For the hem, I'm just turning under the fabric a 1/2 inch. I'm going to give it a press and then just make one stitching all around with that same contrast thread. This will be easier than me turning it in half and trying to do a double folded edge, which is why I finished off the edge with my overlock serger. If you don't have an overlock serger, definitely you can do this with a zigzag stitch as well. Since I already had the contrasting thread bobbin wound for my lightweight brother machine, I decided to switch back to finish off the hem because I've got navy at the top, I've got the contrasting for the bottom, and what I like to do is once I've got my hem pressed in place, I stitch it upside down instead of right side up. So my top stitch is actually on the inside of the skirt, and then you'll see the contrasting here on the outer. It just makes it a little bit easier to stay as close as possible to the edge of your hem. I had a feeling that would be cute, and it was so quick. 2 pieces, front, back, and a godet. Actually 3, but 2 pattern pieces. You saw how quick I did that in no time. I've put some links in the description box below because the pattern is discontinued, but of course it still lives on the internet. And I'm hoping you can find it because the other variations are really nice to have in your stash as well. So if you come across a pattern that you have and you're wondering, will it work out for this fabric? Give it a try, because in most cases it will. Really what they give you on the pattern is just the suggestions that they have. They could probably list far more. And the only changes that I made were, I didn't have the lining, which the pattern calls for, and I changed the waistband at the top and just folded it over. Really easy. Well, that brings us to the end of this video, and I hope you enjoyed today's content and got inspired to look in your stash or even go buy a pattern and whatever it's intended for, turn it into something else. You'll be pleasantly surprised. If you enjoyed today's content, please comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye, everyone.